Hello and welcome to our second, not quite but almost annual New Year's Eve special episode. This, of course, is Observation Conversations. My name is Jonathan. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Reid. How are you doing, Reid?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for 2024. It's a
The year
big
is
change for
drawing
us.
to a close.
Yeah.
The year is drawing to a close, and we like to kind of, we always like to look back and kind of commemorate what has been, what's coming up in the year ahead. We did one previous New Year's Eve special, which I thought was pretty good, for 2021, so this will kind of be our return to form after missing last year. And so, we have a few nostalgic topics, a few things that kind of, allow us to look back, reflect on this past year, and hopefully plant some seeds for what is to come in 2024. So, Reid, what are we doing tonight?
So, this is a segment that I had come up with a while ago that I thought would be kind of interesting, and honestly, I didn't expect to revisit it in this way quite so soon. But I always like the idea of time capsules. And just kind of planting memories and seeing where you were at a certain point in time and kind of discovering that in the future to see how much you've grown. And I had this idea, which was, hey, we're creating kind of a digital time capsule in a way. What if we asked ourselves questions of our future selves that we could then answer at a later date?
Yes.
And so now we're unpacking the first set of questions that we've left for ourselves, and I should say the first and only set of questions that we've left for ourselves. So we're gonna plant some new ones after this. And I have no memory of what we asked, which I think is
neither.
The exciting part.
Absolutely. So let's see. So these are questions that we asked this previous summer. I think back in June, I want to say, is when we asked these questions.
So what would have been like six months ago, basically.
Yeah, about 6 months.
Yeah. Which it's not a super long time, but I think it is long enough to have gone through some change.
I think I'd say, a fair bit has changed in just the past 6 months. Do you have the precise date of when we asked these questions? Do you have that accessible?
I don't have the exact date, but I do have the video itself, which was released July 14th.
July 14th. Okay, so about 5.5 months. Okay. All right. So I would say that a fair bit has changed since mid-July. At least I feel like it has. So let's see what we have here.
Yeah. Can you see this okay?
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Great.
Although I cannot hear it.
Oh. Okay.
Are you sharing your audio?
Should be. See. Oh, my bad. That'll do it. I'm a professional, ladies and gentlemen.
Professional podcasters here, as you can clearly tell.
And we don't want to. How about now? Can you hear this? Part 1 and part 2 again?
Oh yeah, you're good.
I think maybe we should try this segment that I came up with. I think I was the one that came up. Yeah, I think this was my idea. But I had this idea of asking ourselves questions that we would answer. Do I take too long to explain things on a later?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like I pause a lot
after
we forgot.
I think you're deliberate.
So
that's what I think you are. I think you're very deliberate.
To listen to these questions to our future selves and respond to them.
Which is a quality I value, by the way.
And I thought maybe we could try that. Well, I think I got that this episode just from hearing you speak, because you always have such a very strong vocabulary.
Yeah. So.
And I've always looked up to that, so I try to use good words when I talk good.
Well, first of all,
get idea across.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. That's a very nice thing to say. And also, I was going to say, I'm glad you paused the video, because it's very hard to distinguish between current you and 6 months ago you.
Yeah,
no, it's very difficult to distinguish, so I'm glad you paused.
Maybe we should do an entire episode like that, where we're just doing an episode with a previous episode as background noise.
An episode within an episode. Now
Yeah.
that would be incomprehensible, but I'm sure that would be a fun experiment.
Fun for us, bad for the
Exactly.
audience.
Yeah, not fun for the listener, but very fun for us.
All right. Well, let's see what we're saying.
Bible, do you want to kick us off? Do you have a question that you want to ask?
I have a question for future Reid.
Sure.
Did you ever get a letterboxed? Okay, so I did get a letterboxed.
You did? Okay.
I did, like a couple months later.
Oh wow.
I downloaded the app. Have not opened it.
Oh well,
I should
that's
say
a cop-out.
I've opened it, but I haven't like made an account yet.
Yeah. Well,
so progress is slow, but I do,
to put it lightly,
have Letterboxd on my phone.
Okay,
which
well that
is a step forward.
Admittedly, yes, that is a tiny step in the right direction.
Yeah.
I hope that at some point this decade, in the 2020s, that we will actually see you make an account and actually maybe use the app.
I guess it's gonna be my New Year's resolution this year.
Yeah, well,
start using Letterboxd.
Yeah, well, as you know, I am a big proponent of it. I've really been enjoying using it. Just this past week, actually, fun fact, I've been on a Lord of the Rings kick. I've never seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies before, but obviously for years I've been hearing about how amazing they are. And so last week I just decided, you know what, I've been hearing so much about these movies, let me finally just watch them and see what all the hype is about. And I can confirm, so now I've seen all of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I've now seen all the Hobbit films as well. So I've watched 6 movies in the past week or so. And I mean, as you could tell, I really got into it. So I started with Fellowship, and then I went through the original, and then I watched the Hobbits. And I've been writing reviews for each of them as I've gone along on Letterboxd. And I mean, I'll just make my short summary here. I see what all the hype was about.
Yeah.
You know, that original trilogy is really cool. Like, literally every single one of those movies I gave a 10 out of 10. Like those movies are genuinely very, very good, and I was thoroughly enjoying them from start to finish. The Hobbit films, I will say, I see why those are more mixed. You know, I think that with the Hobbit films...
It should have been one movie, because it was...
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be 2 originally, and then they expanded it into 3 movies from 2 movies. It was supposed to be a 2-parter, and they made it into a 3-parter. And I will say your mileage definitely will vary. If you're like me and you've just watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy and you just want to spend more time in Middle Earth, it's a great way to do that. I mean, it's a perfectly acceptable vehicle for spending more time in Middle Earth. It's not as good as the original trilogy, of course. You know, it's not. They don't come close to the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I think they are fun movies. I like the first 2 in particular. The first 2 I gave 8 out of 10s, and then the third one, The Battle of the Five Armies, which I just watched last night, I gave, I think, a 6 out of 10. So it's a little bit of a step down, but I think still overall, the Hobbit trilogy is a fun time. Like, I wouldn't not
like Martin Freeman is great in that too.
Yeah, no, I think he's terrific. And I mean, honestly, just like anytime we get to see Ian McKellen as Gandalf is a time that I'm happy. You know, it's a time when I'm having fun. And they do work in a lot of those great, you know, nostalgic characters from the original trilogy, because it's a prequel, really, in many ways. It's a prequel trilogy to the originals. And so, you know, when you see Gollum again, that's fun. And when you see Galadriel and Saruman pop up again, you know, it's nice to see them, you know, and you got all these little hints about, you know, events that we're going to see paid off in the original trilogy. So, like, you know, it's fun in that way. So, you know, I would say overall, the Hobbit films, they can be fun, but your mileage may vary just depending on how devoted you are to the lore of that world and all that stuff. But yeah, the original trilogy, 10s out of 10s across the board. I mean, again, I don't know why it took me over 20 years to finally watch these movies, but I got around to them, and
that's great.
Yeah, and they're great. I get it now. That's all I can say. I'm the Danny DeVito. I get it now, man. You know, now I get it. You know, yeah, these movies are awesome. Actually, I can see why people love them. So,
do you have Prime Video by any chance?
I do. Yeah.
Since you're a new fan that likes to bask in Middle Earth and not a Lord of the Rings purist, I would check out Rings of Power.
Mm,
Because I actually really enjoyed that series. I know a lot of
okay.
people hated it.
Mm,
I think a lot of that was, you know, conservatives claiming it was too woke because it had
mm,
black characters in it, which,
mm.
yeah, it's okay. Um, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought the world building was really good. And it's just more time spent in Middle Earth in
Sure,
this
yeah.
this kind of fantasy setting. I thought it
Yeah,
was really
and
well done. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
my recommendation to you.
yeah, and I thought about it, but honestly, because that series came out last year, and I remember hearing a lot about it last year when it was coming out, that a lot of people, like a lot of dedicated fans of the movies and fans of the books and the original lore, they were very much put off by it by the end, because it did kind of deviate in a lot of ways and just did things that they didn't really expect or didn't really gel with how they imagined that period of time in the lore.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I've kind of been avoiding it. But if you recommend it, I'll check it out. I don't doubt that for.
I've
Yeah.
recommended specifically because you're not a purist.
No, yeah, and I'm not a lore purist by any stretch. I mean, as I said, I'm just now getting into this, so I'm still very new to it. But yeah, I just remember hearing very mixed things about it when it came out, so I've kind of been dodging it for that reason. But if you recommend it, I'll check it out. I don't doubt it's probably good fun for a casual fan, because I know that the production budget was huge for it. It's like $1 billion
Most
show.
expensive billion per
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
well,
the most expensive
not,
TV show.
Yeah, well, not $1 billion per episode. Now that would be crazy.
I think it actually was.
I think it was like $1 billion for the season, right?
First season was supposed to cost. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, $1 billion for the season.
Which is still crazy. I mean, that's a huge amount of money for a season of television.
Still the most expensive show.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, even more so than Game of Thrones later seasons, which that was the previous most expensive season of television ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I don't doubt the production value is crazy and all that stuff. There's definitely a lot of money being put towards it on screen. So, yeah, I'll check it out. I am just curious enough to check it out. I will say, after having because also I should clarify, I didn't just dip my toe in. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. So I watched all of the extended editions. I watched Fellowship Extended, Two Towers Extended, and Return of the King Extended. And then I watched just the Hobbit films, the standard editions.
Yeah.
But the original trilogy, I watched all extended editions, which is like 10 hours of movie. So, yeah, I think that having watched probably like 16 to 18 hours of Lord of the Rings movies in the past week, I'm probably gonna take a break for a little while. But
that's fair.
But I will check it out at some point. So but yeah, so anyway, all this is to say, get on Letterboxd.
I can read your reviews on Letterboxd if I create an account.
Exactly. I have been beating this drum for months now, and I'm gonna keep beating this drum because I genuinely think you would enjoy it. No, it's not just because I want the validation. I think
I would too. I think the problem is because everyone keeps telling me to get it, I'm just resistant to it, which is just a terrible trait to have as a person.
Sure.
New Year's resolution.
There you go.
New Year's resolution.
There you go. So,
let's end this tangent and see what else we've asked ourselves.
And viewers, I will keep him honest too in 2024. I will keep him honest, and I will let you know when he's done it. So
he will keep me honest, but not accountable.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Whatever happens, I will let you know, dear viewer.
And hopefully the answer will be yes.
Did you ever get a Letterboxd? Did you agree with Jago's posts?
There you go.
No, I haven't seen them. I haven't. Well, I'm not sure. I've seen a few.
It will be a good question to revisit later on.
You don't have to limit yourself to one, too. What are you working on right now? What creative projects do you have in front of you? What creative project do you have in front of you?
Oh, you're asking me now.
Well, that's what Past Me just asked you.
Hmm.
At least I think that was to
Well,
you. I mean, we can
well,
both
I
answer
think
it.
well, I think the answer that I'm about to give, if I remember this question correctly, is I think that the answer I'm about to give is Letterboxd and writing reviews on Letterboxd. At least at the time that we recorded this original Questions for Us segment.
Yeah, but what is
Um,
it now?
well, now my greatest creative outlet this year has been getting back into making this show. Really, this has been my greatest creative outlet. Um, I think writing the Letterboxd reviews has been fun, and I do enjoy doing that. But I think that's really a substitute for, I guess, an itch that I feel like I want to scratch when we're kind of in the off season when we're not doing this.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that I enjoy more really than doing this and recording this show and editing it and producing it and getting it out to you guys. It really is something that I enjoy. I find creatively fulfilling. I've learned a lot doing this show. I look forward to doing this show. I have so much fun doing this show and doing it with you, Reid. And so, I think so. Yeah. So the answer I'm about to give here, I think, is Letterboxd, but that's only because I use Letterboxd because most of the time when we're not doing this, I miss doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of an outlet to have these kind of, or at least put some of these same thoughts out there without having this outlet. But this outlet of doing this podcast, that's my number one thing that I find creatively fulfilling and just fun. Honestly, it's so much fun to do it. And yeah, that really has been a blessing, really, in this past year to be able to get back into this. It still hasn't been perfectly consistent, and obviously we'll continue to work on that.
But school also comes first.
Well, naturally, and of course, I mean, we have busy lives and there's a lot going on. But yeah, being able to record several episodes over the summer, being able to record a couple of episodes here now at the end of the year, it's been wonderful. Really, it's been wonderful. So that would be my answer now, is making this show.
Cool.
Here's a question. Who's gonna win our fantasy baseball league? We've got a fantasy baseball thing going on right now.
I can answer that one, not me.
Well,
I believe that prediction came true.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, that prediction did come true. And we do now know the answer. Greg won our fantasy baseball league. So
no surprises there. He wins.
Yeah. It
league.
ended up being him and myself in the final. And I think, as you said, I think he was a shoo-in as the only one among us who really is a passionate follower of baseball, or at least a regular follower of baseball.
I also just remembered I haven't checked my football league in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I won though. I won. I beat Matthew. That's good.
Oh, there you go. So...
I need to update this real quick.
But we do know the answer to that question at least. It was Greg. So congratulations, Greg, on your fantasy baseball championship. I think our fantasy baseball league has already kind of fallen into obscurity, but he did win it all. So, and now we're just 1 week away from our fantasy football championship, which is I think very much on our minds now, more so. And we'll have to see who ends up being in that. Right now we're in the semifinals. But two of our good friends are actually going against one another right now in the semifinals, Greg and Emmanuel. They both made it to round 2, so wishing them the best. I wish I were there, of course. I got bounced in the first round, but what can you do? Sometimes it's just not your year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently I'm 5-10.
Yes,
and Greg is 13-2. So
yes, our dear Reid, sadly he didn't make the finals.
Was the cutoff.
I have to say, Reid, at the start of the year, I didn't think your team was that bad, honestly. But looking back at it now, I think you've had a lot of bad luck, genuine bad luck. But also, if I can diagnose your problem, I think that you just ended up having a really lackluster draft. If if I may, I know you didn't really come into the draft with much of a strategy, which is fine, but I think you perhaps reached on some players and made some tactical errors that ended up costing you. For instance, I don't mean to put your business on blast, but you did draft a defense in the second round. That was an error.
I still stand by that decision because the 49ers have done really well this season.
They have.
They've done really well. They've served me well. They've gotten me a lot of points.
They're a great defense, but the problem is that the reason why you're losing is because you're not generating enough points, and you need to have good flex players to generate enough points, running backs and wide receivers. And you drafted a quarterback in the first round and a team defense in the second round, which meant that you were only drafting, third round and lower value, flex players, because they were all going in the first and second round.
Yeah.
And so, I think you're
so running backs and wide receivers should be targeted first during.
Ideally. Yeah. I think your number one wide receiver was who was your number one wide receiver even? Christian Watson?
Let's check.
Or no, Mike Evans.
Yeah, Mike Evans.
Yeah, who is good. I mean, he's solid. But again, in the first round, you're seeing the likes of Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey and A.J. Brown. These are people that you can't afford to pass up on.
Yeah.
And
I think the problem is this is something we haven't talked about on the podcast before, but just in casual conversation, I've diagnosed myself with something I like to call crow brain. Which usually manifests itself in, I'll see like a shiny object on the ground and I'll just instinctually want to pick it up and see what it is. But I think the way that translates to fantasy football is I'll see like the really big point projection numbers under the quarterback. And I'm like, I got to get that first because big points means more points means winning.
Yeah.
But, that means the majority of my players, since I'm picking those later, have lower point values, or just score less. And so that's hurting me in the long run.
Which honestly, I think that perhaps going forward, what you should try to do is not to try to minimize crow brain. I think you could actually lean into it more, because remember, the advice you gave Emmanuel at the start of the year was exactly that. Do what you did last year, which is just, as someone who's coming in with very little knowledge of, current players and stuff like that, just go for the biggest numbers wherever you see them.
Yeah.
And basically follow along with what the computer recommends. And Emmanuel did that this year, and now he's in the semifinal, potentially going to the final.
But I think he did that in a good order, not QB first, defense second.
Exactly.
Which is what, like, you still have to be tactful about it, which I didn't do this season.
Exactly. So to your point, your defense, San Francisco 49ers defense, is excellent, but even the best defense in the league shouldn't be drafted before, I would say, round 6 or 7 at the highest. And so that's my diagnosis of your problem. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, and I can admit this now, going into the draft, I myself was considering whether or not I should take Patrick Mahomes in the first round. I was debating that, and I ultimately decided against it, but it just goes to show you that you had a similar instinct. The common wisdom is you probably, no matter how enticing it is, you probably shouldn't draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
But of course, after 6 months of no football, there is a natural desire to want to draft the Super Bowl winning quarterback, the MVP, with that first round pick.
The guy with the big number. I gotta get the guy with the big number.
Exactly. And he's the last guy that you saw win in a real game.
Yeah.
And so, it's a natural temptation. And so it just goes to show you, I don't think it was a bad instinct. But yeah, you see the peril of that now, because no matter how good a quarterback is, they still need legit weapons to be throwing the ball to.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs have really struggled with that this year. And so no matter how great Patrick Mahomes is, and God knows he's, unbelievable, his wide receivers have really struggled this year. And, you've really suffered as a result of that. And so
I will say also, I think a big piece of it was final season. not in terms of football, but in terms of the semester and like exams and worrying about finals and final projects. Because I know there were several weeks where I just completely forgot to check. And I realized like I had several players on bye weeks that week that I just didn't sub out in time, or like players who got injured and I just didn't bench them. Um, so part of it is that, but I think you're right. It's mostly um, being impatient with my draft picks.
And honestly, because I am equal opportunity, I'll diagnose my own problem as well. As I said, I did make the playoffs, but I got bounced in the first round. I think my own problem with how I drafted this year was I think I put too much stock on getting individual players that I really like or players from teams that I really like instead of just going for what appears to be the best player available.
Yeah.
I think that I showed a little bit too much favoritism, and that's why my roster ended up being lopsided in favor of just a few teams as opposed to really spreading things out. And in theory, that sounds great, sounds fine, but in practice, it does create some awkward decisions when you're trying to figure out who to start and who to sit, and so on and so forth. So I think that was my problem. Is I think I showed maybe a little bit too much favoritism. I still think I had a pretty good draft overall. I look back on it, I'm still happy with a lot of the players that I did end up getting. But yeah, I think next year for the draft, I think I'm gonna have to try to show less favoritism and just try to focus on, again, kind of what you were saying with the crow brain. I mean, going into the draft, all you have is projected numbers. I mean, you have nothing real to go off of. You just, we're making our best guess based off of what happened.
I mean, unless you regularly follow football and specific players, and then you have a general sense of what they're like, and
of course,
some people like Greg keeps up with a lot of the current strategies and player conditions and stuff like that. But for someone who does, like myself, who just doesn't really watch football aside from the Super Bowl and then whatever my dad has on when I walk into the kitchen, that's about it. So, I go in mostly blind.
Yeah, and so and I tend to follow this stuff, so I tend to have a sense of what's going on. So so just trying to just kind of be a little bit more even-handed, because of course we'll still have our favorites. We can't help but have our favorites, but yeah, just try to be more even-handed between picking my favorites and just picking the best available player for that position. And so that's kind of my own self-diagnosis for what I can do better next draft. But yeah, we'll have to see. Next week we'll know who's in the finals, and then the week after that we'll know who's won it all. So it's very exciting.
How much did we put in the pool?
Well, I believe the agreement we settled on coming out of the draft was $20 per person per signatory. So
damn.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But
hopefully whoever wins, probably Greg. Hopefully they forget that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I
just feel free to cut this out of the episode.
Yeah, don't tell him I said this, but I'm secretly hoping that Emmanuel actually makes it to the final, because I think that would be a cool experience for him. This is his first year ever doing any kind of fantasy football, and so I think that would be a fun experience for him to have that.
I mean, I got really close last year, which was my first year. I had an amazing season up until like the last 5 weeks, and then just all went to shit immediately. But it was really exciting, like riding that high.
Oh yeah, and like you, I also feel like I had more than my fair share of bad luck this year. Like last year, I will admit, last fantasy season, I had every lucky break. I will be the first to admit that. I had so many lucky breaks last season, and last season I was our league champion. I won it all. And so this year, my luck ran out. I still had I didn't have a winning record actually by the end. I think I was like 7-9 by the end.
I think I was around that.
But yeah, if you go back and look at my points for versus points against, I have like the second or third most points for in the whole league. So I should have a winning record. But I had so many close losses, close, frankly, I would argue BS losses that it ended up really costing me. So, oh well, but that's fantasy though. It's unpredictable, and that's the fun of it. So, but yeah, just goes to show you that there is a real role that luck plays as well in all of this. I mean, obviously there's strategy too, and you can think about all this stuff until you're blue in the face, but ultimately, just getting lucky has a lot to go into it as well. And so, but yeah, that's part of the fun of it. So we'll see who wins it all this year.
Exciting stuff. All right, let's.
I haven't checked
the score in weeks.
Well, do you know what the craziest thing though is that right now I'm the number 1 seed in the league. I've got the best record in the league, and there's only one team in our entire league that has beaten me every single time we've played. It's not Greg, who is, I think, the points leader in the league. It's not Jim, who is the leader in his division. It's you, actually.
Man, what a disappointment.
You are the only team in our league who has beaten me every single time. I have beaten everyone else in our league at least once, but I cannot. We've played 3 times now, and I swear I cannot seem to beat you.
I drafted my characters. Made, like, no substitutions when people would get hurt. So, and I have not checked the app in weeks. So anything that's happened is purely God's will and nothing else.
That's a good way to put it. God's will. Well, God has been smiling upon you because I cannot seem to beat you.
Or frowning upon you. Depends on the way you see it.
Well, that's the thing is that I've had good fortune everywhere else. It's just every time I play you, and again, we've played like at least 3 times. We've had at least 3 matchups now, and you've beaten me every single time. And I don't know how you're doing it. But just so everybody knows out there,
I think I spent all my luck on the baseball
draft,
drafts.
our fantasy league, and it was a randomized draft. Anybody who gets the first pick. Many are now saying the best.
I'm this number for each position,
and
I don't plan on changing it anytime soon.
What's happening now? I mean, you've got many people now saying we're beyond just the best baseball player playing right now. We are in of all time territory. Obviously you've got other great. But right now, I mean, he's just been, and yeah, it's been tough to overcome this pick, and not like Greg, because Greg, like his roster plus Shohei Ohtani, now that is a fierce. Yeah, but yeah, I'm curious to know because that's going to wrap up in September, and so I hope I win. I again, not to toot my own horn, but I am the reigning champion of our fantasy football league.
Shall we make some kind of wager out of this?
Sure.
Okay. So if you win, what happens?
If I win, I guess honestly, I guess I hadn't thought about it. I guess I'll have bragging rights, I suppose. But I don't know what should happen if I win.
How about we'll post to say we'll do. I'm giving you like more editing work to do. Like under each of us, or you can just like cut to a different screen. We'll have like a specific phrase that'll be like Reid is, and then fill it in,
right.
And Jago is blah blah blah.
I don't remember this
and
at
so
all.
If you win, you get to decide what those things say.
Okay.
So you can like compliment yourself and insult me. But if you don't win, then I get to do it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
I'll agree to that.
You did score better than I did.
That works. All right. Well,
shake on it.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So yeah, now if you want to do this editing, you can put Reid is and then fill in the blank under here. And then Jago is and whatever you want to put. I do understand that a deal is a deal, but I also think it's a moot point now because neither of us won. And also I feel like it was months ago and we've all already forgotten about even I forgot about the Fantasy Baseball League, and it's my league. So, I feel like we've all forgotten about Fantasy Baseball by this point. So I understand that 6 months ago I made this deal, but I feel like now I just could not be bothered to do that extra effort to actually do that. So, yeah, I will say congratulations, Greg, on your fantasy baseball victory. But I think that's the end of that. So,
Greg is awesome.
There you go. But yeah, no, I think right now all eyes are on fantasy football, as it should be. So, yeah, I think that's what we really care about now. So
Yeah.
So
Fool, I've stacked it against you because all that needs for me to win is for you to not win. Oh,
exactly.
I don't win jack shit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. These are fair terms, so I will accept. But all that leaves is to decide what the hell are we going to call this episode. What should we call it? Creative Pursuits, Letterboxed, and
I guess that might have been it for the questions. No.
This is truly our creative process in action.
Ant-Man sucks, and here's why.
Ant-Man sucks, and here's why. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Okay, apologies. So yes. I think that's the end of our questions for us segment from a few months ago.
Yeah, so that was honestly a little underwhelming. It was just, what are you up to now, and do you have a letterbox? Which is the podcast, and no.
Yeah, our two questions were, did you get on Letterboxd, and who won the fantasy baseball championship? Frankly,
which was neither of us.
Yeah, which frankly I think we should be ashamed of ourselves for having such lackluster questions. But you know what? This is the New Year's Eve special, so let's come up with something a little more profound this time. And then, who knows, maybe in another 6 months' time or a year's time, we will come back to this, and we'll actually have some profound answers for ourselves from the future.
Needing profound questions.
Okay.
I do have one.
Yes, I also have one. I have my question.
Would you like to go first?
Yes, okay, I'll go first. So, here is my profound question for the Jonathan of 2024. Dear
Who won the football league?
Dear, well, I'm sure we'll answer that, but dear me of 2024, in a year's time, at the end of next year, of course, there's so much happening in our lives in this next year, but there's also a lot happening in the world. And when I think about what's happening in the world next year, what we know is going to happen in the world next year, my mind immediately and irrevocably turns towards the election. Of course, we have a very big election year coming up next year, the 2024 presidential election. Needless to say, of course, every election cycle feels like this, but it feels as though the stakes couldn't be higher. And so the question that I have for the me of 1 year from now is, do we still have a country? Do we still have we held on to our democracy? Or has the whole thing burst into flames as a result of the election? I hope everything is orderly. I hope that the American system of democracy and republicanism, small r republicanism, persists and remains as strong as we saw it could be after the last election, when it was under unprecedented attack by, I mean, let's call it what it is. It was Donald Trump's attacks to try to undermine our democracy, to try to essentially steal and seal a victory for himself where none existed. We survived the election of 2020, literally, because of that was also coinciding with the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. But for as happy as we should be that we came through that dark period of time, we also mustn't forget how close we came to the brink. And it wasn't just January 6th, obviously. That was the exclamation point at the end of it. But remember, January 6th only came after 2 months of a continuous campaign of election subversion by Donald J. Trump and his underlings to essentially steal and swing battleground states that he lost into states that he won. And we came very close. Honestly, it was a victory, but we came very close to the brink. And it was a very scary thing. I mean, I'm sure you remember what it was like at that time. It was a very scary time when we didn't know, is he actually going to be able to steal this thing? It's a very difficult thing when you have the President of the United States directly putting pressure on you to, essentially what he was doing was calling up state election officials and asking them to straight out change vote tallies, to turn losses into victories. We saw it happen in Pennsylvania. We saw it happen in Georgia. We saw it happen basically everywhere Trump dispatched Rudy Giuliani to do the dirty work, as we saw with 3 seasons or 4 seasons landscaping. Remember that, outside of Philadelphia, is where this plot unfolded. In Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Arizona, in Georgia. So it was a very scary thing. And only when it was clear that he wouldn't succeed in stealing it in the dark of night did we see January 6th and the violence and the terror of that day. And so now we are in a better position because, of course, Trump is not the incumbent president. Thank God. I don't mind saying publicly that I hope he remains that way. I hope he remains well away from any kind of governmental power for the rest of his life. And I hope that, he has several trials upcoming in the new year across a litany of different cases, both related to the 2020 election and otherwise. I hope that he does face some real criminal justice consequences for his wrongdoing and, frankly, his outright criminality. But most of all, the most important thing is the election. Right now, at the end of 2023, what we assumed the election would look like appears to be what it's going to be. For most of this year, we've all assumed it's going to be a rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It's a rematch that nobody is excited for, that nobody is passionate about. It's nobody's ideal situation, but it's what we're going to get. We're going to get the rematch. And it's going to be I just fear that it's going to be a very close thing again. And so the American system is resilient. There are many good people in place who believe and care about upholding the integrity of our democracy and resisting outside subversion from whatever direction it comes from. But we should all be very vigilant in the new year that the same old tricks that we saw play out in 2020 and frankly in 2016 as well do not rear their ugly heads again. They cannot win. They must not be allowed to win. They must not be allowed to steal this republic. And so, yes, it's going to be a very interesting thing. Obviously, there's always a lot of action in an election year, political action. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to get the rematch.
Long, too, because for some godforsaken reason, an election season is an entire year now.
Yeah, so, well, yeah, more than a year. So, and so, yeah, so I believe that, yeah. So anyway, it's no secret again that, as I just said, I am very much not for Trump. I'm very much against him. I don't want to see him win. I think he is a uniquely dangerous figure in American politics, beyond just the many, many, many things, basically everything that I disagree with him on politically. It's not just that we disagree, or that I find his policies and his positions odious. He is truly a dangerous, demagogic, aspiring authoritarian figure. But also, of course, for obvious reasons, we don't dip into politics much on this show, but I do believe that, when we look at Joe Biden's record over his 3 years now, 4 years by the time he's done with his first term, I believe it is a good record. Obviously, he's old. We all get it. He's old. He promised us in 2020 that he was going to be a transitional figure. He would come in, he'd beat Trump. That was his one job, beat Trump, and then set up the next generation of Democrats to take on the mantle, take on the torch after him.
And then he forgot to do that.
And we all understood that deal to be, okay, you're going to be a one-term bridge figure. And based on reporting that I've read, that was the plan. But what he wasn't expecting was for Trump also to run again. Because normally, especially if you're an incumbent who gets defeated, normally you have the good grace to just leave the limelight altogether and accept life as a private citizen. But Trump hasn't done that. He's come back because he realizes his only surefire guarantee of staying out of prison is becoming president again. So he's not just running for the office, he's running to stay out of prison. And so when Trump got back in, Biden felt as though it was his responsibility as the only Democrat proven to beat Trump in a general election that he had to run again himself. And so, yes, he's old. As a Democrat, as a progressive Democrat, it would be my preference for someone younger to run. I want to see the next generation be ushered in. But the fact of the matter is that we are facing the unique threat, the unique danger of Trump once again. And Biden is the only one who has a proven track record of beating him on the biggest stage that there is. And if he's done it once, I believe he can do it again. And also, I think that what he's done in these 3 years has been commendable. He led us out of the pandemic, got the nation vaccinated. He got us out of Afghanistan. Yes, it was messy. But remember, it was Trump's deal that put us on that timeline. Biden didn't do that. Biden was faced with a terrible choice, either get out and risk it being messy or stay and have the Taliban start shooting at us again. And that would have been even worse. So Biden did what he had to do there. I think his leadership during the Russian invasion of Ukraine has been remarkable. He has united the Western world around Ukraine's defense. Everyone thought when Russia invaded that Ukraine would be lucky to last a few weeks. 2 years later, and Ukraine is still standing and Ukraine is still fighting. And that is thanks in large part, and very large part, to really strong leadership from the White House in strengthening NATO, enlarging NATO, bringing in Finland, bringing in Sweden, and getting Ukraine the materials that they need to be able to retake their country.
Yeah.
And they're still doing that to this day, thanks to White House leadership. And I think that, he's had a great deal of challenge land on his desk, as every president does. And I think that I feel as though he's gotten far more right than wrong. The only problem is that he's just really not the best messenger for his own accomplishments, again, because he is such an old guy. And he is such a Washington insider. He's not a very exciting campaigner. And of course, in 2020, it wasn't a big problem because everyone was stuck at home anyway, so he could campaign from his house. But now he has to be the retail politician that he has shown flashes of being at times in the past, but he's going to be 81, I think, by election day next year. And it's a hard thing to do. And he was never the best retail politician to begin with. So I think that he has had a successful first term, but he needs to show us now that he can be just as energetic as the opposition will be on the campaign trail and really tout his own accomplishments. Because the problem is that no matter how much you actually accomplish during your years in office, if people don't know about it, none of that matters. Yeah. If you're not getting credit for it, it may as well not even have happened. You have to wake people up and let people know what's actually been doing. I think Build Back Better is incredible legislation. I mean, look at the massive investments in the Green Revolution that we're now seeing as a result of Build Back Better. That was a result of more than a year of legislative wrangling, which he was able to get done because he is such a skilled legislator in Washington. He was a senator for decades. He's good at that stuff, but now he needs to get out into the country and talk about it and sell it. And I think that's what his team
weak spot to
exactly. Yeah, and
public speaking and making the public presence.
Exactly, and so that will be the ultimate test. That will be the ultimate test. I think Biden has a good record, a record that he can run on Build Back Better, on Ukraine, on vaccinating the country, on the gun control bill. Maybe we'll just
ignore the Israel stuff and.
Yeah, well, I mean that's that's a no-win situation no matter what. No matter what you do, someone's going to be pissed with the current Israel-Gaza conflict. But yeah, I think he has a strong first-term record run on. But now he has to tell the country about it. He has to get out on the road and really be that retail politician. So that's my take on what we're going into in this next year. And yeah, that's my question. Really, is just how did that election go?
How did the election go? What is the current political climate?
Precisely.
Damn. Yeah. No, my question was not nearly as involved. I didn't really have a good way of transitioning. But I wanted to ask, how was graduating from college? Because I think that's, going to be a big moment in both of our lives this coming May.
Very much so. Very much so.
How did that go? What are you up to now? Do you have a job? Where are you living? There's a lot that I'm currently very anxious about. Yes, politics is one of them, and the climate, and just a lot of existential stuff, but also in terms of personal lives too. There's a lot happening right now.
Yeah.
And a lot unknown. Are you okay? Are you happy? And also, just curiously, what's something that you've changed your mind about or come around on in the past year?
Absolutely. So, yeah, we will revisit these questions, and in the future, and future us will answer them. So, oh, by the way, hi, future us.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I like the haircut.
I can't wait to become
glasses
you.
Too. Those are nice.
I can't.
Are those mine or are those new? I can't. They look nice though. They're good.
Yeah, I can't wait to become you. That'll be what a thrill that will be. So, but yeah, there you go. I think those are good questions. So, we will see what 2024 has in store. It will be a year to remember, no doubt. It will be, as you said, a lot happening in our own lives, a lot happening in the world. It's going to be, I think, a hugely consequential year, in every sense. And so, yeah, these will be good questions to come back and revisit.
I think we should move on because, we have questions for future us that we've asked. But one of the things we want to talk about is, questions that other people are asking to each other and looking for advice and how to grow and change for the new year.
Absolutely.
And we thought that us two people who don't have jack shit figured out would be the perfect people to answer those questions.
Yeah, natural candidates. So what did we call this segment? Was it advice column or what did we call this?
I think officially it was well, let me look right now. Unsolicited advice column.
Ah, yes, unsolicited advice. Yes.
Which I think in terms of names we can probably do better.
Oh yeah. It's okay.
But our thing is not naming things. It's observational comedy.
Precisely.
Essentially. Yeah. Maybe not even the comedy part. Maybe just
yeah, comedy is debatable. Yeah, debatable.
All right, so this first question is actually pretty interesting to me. It's how to beat phone addiction. I really just wanted to get some advice or pro tips on how to kick my phone addiction. I just don't really think that I'm living life right. I go to work, hit the gym, cook, clean, socialize on weekends, and I have a hobby, but other than that, I'm on my phone. I know it seems like I have a lot going on, but there are days where I'll see I spent 5 hours on my phone and just in shock every time I see it. I always think to myself, wow, I could have spent 5 hours learning something, reading, or doing literally anything else productive. This past semester, I actually took a class about phone addiction and social media addiction.
Interesting.
Stuff like that. And I will say right off the bat, 5 hours could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. Honestly, if you're averaging 3 to 4 hours a day, that's, not great, but much, much better than what a lot of people do. I've had days where I've gone up as high as like 7, 8, 9 hours.
Sure.
Which is dangerous, and it's tough because phones and apps are designed to keep your attention. Even just something as mundane as like email, getting a notification and then clicking off of it and seeing your inbox zero out can give you like this sense of reward, which makes you want to anticipate the next email. And as soon as you hear that notification, you got to go to the inbox and check it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the best way to reduce phone usage, honestly, has been recognizing a lot of these habits. One of the things we did were these things called trigger trackers, where you just kind of write down every time you pick up your phone, how long were you on the phone for? What did you do? Was it useful to you or not? Because sometimes it is useful. Sometimes I'll be like reading or writing something. I'm like, oh, I don't know a specific word, so I'll pull up my phone, go to the dictionary app, and look it up. That's useful. But then if I then spend an hour on TikTok, not so much. And so just becoming more aware of your habits, to me, has always been very useful. I think also, if you do that at a certain point, you'll be like, I don't want to pick up my phone because I'm going to have to write about what I just did on my phone.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I will be the first to admit I don't have a perfect answer. Just like everybody else, I love my devices. I've got a phone, I've got a tablet, I've got my laptop here. So I love my devices just as much as the next guy. And I'm sure I'm definitely guilty of excessive screen time, probably regularly, if I'm being honest. I will say one potential nugget of advice I can offer is, if you're trying to get away from that and get away from excessive app use and all the rest of it, one good way to really, I guess, kind of help, put you on that path is find ways that are kind of nice middle grounds in between things that you already are doing, things that you're already using, but using them in a way that's not exactly like, the things that you're trying to get away from. So basically what I'm getting at is one thing that I found has helped me is I've been reading more ebooks on my tablet in this past year. And I can easily, sink an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours reading a book that I'm really getting into on my tablet. And that's time that I'm not spending on social media or on YouTube or doing these other things. But I'm still on my tablet. I'm all for the nostalgia of picking up a nice physical book and flipping through it. But honestly, it's just easier when you've already got the tablet in your hand there, and you want to do something other than watch YouTube videos or other than check your email or other than whatever it is you're currently doing. Just open up the Books app and just start flipping through that book again. You can pick up right where you left off. And, it's a nice middle ground in between the thing that you were already doing and the thing that you want to be doing more of. And so, I know it's kind of an obvious answer, but that's something that I found has helped me is that, just take the same medium that you're already using, but then putting it towards a more, I don't know if constructive is the right word to use, but just put it in a different direction than beneficial. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a more beneficial end than the thing you're trying to get away from, which is Instagram or Twitter or whatever else. So,
but it's funny because you actually seem to have stumbled your way into a very real strategy for combating these kinds of addictions.
Sure.
Which is it's hard to change the behavior unless you keep the reward consistent. Yeah. And so you have some way that you're still getting that dopamine release.
Yeah.
And so in your case, it's, you get some kind of dopamine from picking up and looking at your phone. So just change it to picking up and looking at your tablet. You still get that same release, but now the behavior is slightly healthier because you're reading a book and it's a lot more productive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great solution.
Absolutely. So I hope that helps, poster.
Yeah. All right, so we have another one. I'm 18 years old in my last year of second level education. Will be completing my end of school exam / graduating in 2024. I feel terribly lost in life. I don't know where I want to go. I've spoken to a guidance counselor who has based their advice on my results in different skill set tests throughout my schooling. Their opinion is for me to study finance/accounting. I also, however, enjoy biology and the study of the body. My main hobby at the moment is working out. I'm not sure what my passions in life are. I know that I want to be able to make a substantial salary where I or my family won't have to worry, and I have a feeling it will happen. I just don't know how. Anyone who has any opinion or advice on this matter, please leave a comment. Any help greatly appreciated. So this is kind of the typical leaving high school, entering college existential question, which is, what do I do with my life?
Yes.
The greatest advice I've ever gotten was just from my dad, which is, you don't have to know. It is a lot harder to keep that mindset these days because just based on the natural track of education into employment and, you know, expected experience levels, it does seem like you have to just dedicate yourself to a specific career path immediately and stick with it. But I don't think that's necessarily true. You know, I'll talk about my dad's experience first, which was, you know, he was a civil engineer, hated all of his engineering classes, just hated it, thought it was boring as hell, but his dad was an engineer, and, you know, it just seemed like he was decent at it. And as soon as he graduated, he just didn't want to do anything engineering related. So for a while, he was working at this radio station called KJazz. And he was, you know, doing some maintenance, some disc jockeying, which is, you know, an entirely different field. And then at a certain point, he, you know, got, I don't know what the certification is called, but there's some kind of certification you need to do radio work. And then, you know, he found himself teaching like an electrical engineering class, which, you know, he knew a fair amount from his previous experience, but it was, you know, this was a teaching gig, and then he found his way in telemarketing. None of his career that he did was like anything with civil engineering. And that's someone who, you know, stuck with the education and then graduated with a specific degree. You know, myself, I originally planned going in to do computer science. I did 2 years, hated it, then took time off from school, and now I'm doing film. It's difficult. Everyone has a different life situation. I will say taking time off of school has really helped me kind of get refocused and also appreciate education a lot more. Because now that I know what I want to be doing, I enjoy the schooling aspect of it a lot more. But also, you know, I don't know if that would have helped if I had taken the 2 years off after high school and then gone into college. Because, you know, part of college is also exploring and realizing what you don't like. But I think just what I would recommend to this person is, you know, pick a school with a lot of good options where it's easy to, you know, internally transfer if you decide you want to change your major at all. And just, you know, take a bunch of different classes in your first year. And, you know, if you decide you're not happy with your major, you can take time off and, you know, find jobs in another field. But that's what I would say. I don't know if you have any different advice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tough question to come up with relevant advice for, because it's such a universal feeling, and
it's universal, really, but also very personal at the same time.
Deeply personal, and it's also tough to kind of give advice for, because we're still so close to this experience ourselves, you know. And in many ways, a lot of the things that this is a Reddit, right? A Reddit user. That this Reddit user is experiencing are things that we ourselves are continue to grapple with to this day. So it's tough to kind of give someone advice out of the jungle when you're still in the jungle yourself. I will say that it's obviously a very deeply relatable conundrum to have, and there is so much anxiety tied up with being 18, and you're, as you know, this Reddit user said, they're on the verge of graduating high school, and now they're, asking themselves all these questions and interrogating this thing of, well, what do I want to do with my life? I have to have it all figured out. I have to have a plan. I've got to do this and this and this, and so on and so forth. And there's just a absolutely crushing level of anxiety that goes along with that. And so, although I recognize it's very surface level advice, I think the best advice that I can presently give to this Reddit user is just to be aware that just because, I know it feels like it now, but just because you're graduating high school does not by any means mean that you have to have all the answers. In fact, I would actively encourage you to go into these next few years in your life knowing that you're not going to have all the answers. You're on a mission to hopefully find some of the answers, but even at the end of this journey of college, whether you take a year or two off or not, at the end of it all, you're still not going to have all the answers. The best you can hope for is to take it one step at a time and start by answering some of the smaller questions. And then by answering the smaller questions, you can build a foundation to perhaps begin to answer some of the big questions. But trust me, and even for us, it's we're both 23, and it's easy to feel like at 23 we're old souls. But the fact of the matter is that we
don't know jack shit.
But that's the thing that's the thing is that it's so easy to feel this way when it's all you know. But the fact is, in the grand scheme of life, there is still so much life left to be lived. Like, we're only just starting on this journey of life. And so, and it's even more so true at 18. You're at the starting line. This is not the finish line. If anyone is telling you that you need to have all the answers right now, then I would say start listening to other people, because that person is, not coming at you from a really genuine place, I feel like. Because I guarantee you that person themselves didn't have all the answers when they were 18. Nobody does, Frankly, and I'll say this, I never trusted any of the kids in high school that were so dead set certain on knowing what they wanted to do and where they wanted to do it and how they were going to do it, and I'm going to do this and this and this. I never trusted those kids, the super nakedly ambitious ones. I'm all for having aspirations. I'm all for having a passion, but all of those kids in your high school who are saying, I know exactly what I'm going to do and I'm going to do all this and that, I guarantee you check back in with those same kids after 4 years of college and see if their plans haven't changed at least a little bit from what they're saying now. Everybody's plans change because, it's just part of growing up. You grow up, you learn more, you have more experiences, and you take on new insights, new perspectives. Again, I would highly recommend not trusting anyone who refuses to change their ideas in the light of new information. Life is a constant journey of learning, and in the process of learning, your mind will change, your priorities will change, your expectations will change, your hopes will change, your dreams will change. So
I think another thing is you have to give yourself permission to change too.
Exactly.
That was a huge thing I struggled with. Was I was thinking computer science because I have to get a job in STEM so I can make money and have a stable career, because that's what's expected of me. And I always had this passion for film. I don't know if I necessarily realized it at the time, but I just didn't really give myself permission to pursue it as a career or as a form of education. And I am a lot happier and a lot more stable after, giving myself permission. I know it's probably not going to be a stable career. I might not make any money, but I'm a million times happier with that outcome than I am doing something I don't care about.
Absolutely. And I'll just leave it on this. Some very good advice that I received recently from a very good friend of mine, someone who's close to me, was, I think many of my own problems and many of my own issues with, worrying about the future and just anxiety generally is I've been crushed by the burden of that word you just used, have to. You know, you get buried under too many have tos, and it's the greatest thief of happiness, or one of the greatest thieves of happiness that you'll subject yourselves to, is the term have to. You know, I'm all for having a sense of duty and being a dutiful person, but
You can still
trust me,
want to do something out of
yeah,
duty
yeah,
rather than have to.
trust me, if you're thinking about all of these things in terms of have to, I need to do this, I need to do that, you know, I have to do it this way, I need to do it this way, this is the proper way to do it, that will be as great of a thief of happiness, of your own happiness, as anything else you'll deal with in your life.
Yeah, at that
And
point,
so,
you're not living your own life. You're living someone
exactly.
else's.
Exactly. And so, again, you know, if you're a dutiful person, I say that's wonderful. But my advice would be dispense with that word have to. These are the years of your life where you get to explore what you want to do. Trust me, there will be a lot of time left in your life to worry about have tos. You know, there will be a lot of time left in your life for have tos. Right now is the time to figure out, or at least go on the journey of figuring out, what do you want to do? What might bring you that fulfillment that you're looking for? I think that's the standpoint that you have to start with. Don't get crushed by the have tos.
Yeah.
And try to, and just don't be afraid to explore, you know, and I'm, trust me, I know it's not easy, you know, it's easier said than done, but use this time to explore and try to find those things that you want to do. Try to find those things that might bring you that happiness and that fulfillment, because if you can find that thing, then I guarantee you everything else becomes a million times easier. It really does. So that would be my advice. Dispense with the have tos.
I think that's well said. Let's see, there's a couple others. There's how do I stay positive? Why is life going so quickly? How to get a better job? Is lying in a situation like this okay? How do I stop being lazy? Are any of these standing out?
Say that again. What was the first one? The first couple of ones?
How do I stay positive?
Mm.
Why is life going so quickly? How to get a better job? Is lying in a situation like this okay? That looks like a relationship thing.
That could be interesting. The lying, yeah, that could be because it sounds like there's an example with that. So
yeah. Okay. Is lying in a situation like this okay? I'm a young male. I have a small YouTube channel that I post videos to every week or so. Nobody in my personal life knows about it. Me and my girlfriend were watching YouTube on my computer together, and she pointed out two files on my desktop. One was a text document of the name of the video, and the second file was just the video. She asked me what it was, and since I'm not ready to tell her about the channel yet, I told her that the video was a screenshot from a Discord call of me and my friends, and the text document was just a video I was trying to download. I don't normally lie to her, and I don't like it either, but is that wrong?
Interesting.
Not
Interesting.
harmful. It does seem like it's a very small lie in this situation. But
yeah, could you read the end of the example again? The end of the example. You had the two folders. One with the episode.
There are two files. One was a text document of the name of the video. I assume that was like a script. And the second file was just the video itself. She asked me what it was, and since I'm not ready to tell her about the channel yet, I just told her that the video was a screenshot from a Discord call of me and my friends, and the text document was just a video I was trying to download. So basically lying about what the files actually were. I don't normally lie to her, and I don't like it either, but is that wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest, I'm really struggling to see the problem here. What is the problem?
I mean, so the way I think about it is, she was asking a very innocent question, and it seems like this user is just very self-conscious about making videos and posting them on the internet and just making themselves known. And this sounds like it was just kind of a panic lie, which, I get that. I've done that before. I don't think it's necessarily wrong because it's not likely to cause much harm. But I will say, as someone who deals with anxiety, you will feel 1,000 times better if you just tell her, hey, I kind of panicked and lied about what those vows were. And you can just say, like, they're just, for a video I've been working on, but I'm, not ready to show it to anyone yet. And if she's a good girlfriend or good partner, good friend, good, whatever, they'll understand. If they don't, then that's a separate issue. But
yeah,
I think the lie itself seems probably not like the end of the world.
I mean, if I'm understanding the story correctly, I'm not even sure calling it a lie is entirely deserved, because it's not like he's trying to conceal something that he wants to keep hidden. It's just a misunderstanding, really. I mean,
it is deceitful. Because he is specifically saying, like, substituting what the file is with, something made up. I think in essence, I think that the concern is not like the physical lie. It's like, oh, this was a video, but you said it was a screenshot of a video. You're a fucking liar. No, like, no, that part doesn't matter. I think it's the fact that he or she, I actually don't know, this user feels guilty about not sharing their work and hiding their work from their partner. And
yeah,
that's the lying part that they're worried about.
yeah, no, I think I might have to recuse myself from this one, because I'm struggling to see where the problem comes into it. I mean, as you said, if your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it is, if they have an issue with such an incredibly minor thing, then I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's more their problem than yours. Honestly.
No, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the lie itself is an issue at all.
I mean, yeah, I mean, again, just even just continuing to call it a lie. I mean, again, of course, I mean, we don't have the total context, but I just feel like that in both cases, it was something completely innocent. So nothing is, he's not trying to. I mean, yes, he said one thing when the truth is another, but he's not really trying to deceive anyone into believing that something is black when it's white, or that it's up when it's down. I mean, it's like saying.
To me, this was very clearly an anxiety response. This was not. I'm gonna fool the shit out of you.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm hiding this from you. It's like
you're walking out the door and you're saying, hey, I'm gonna go to Target, when really you're going to Walmart. It's like,
yeah.
Does it really matter? Honestly, like, I mean, yeah, I don't feel like it's. I mean, I understand that there are honesty purists out there who just cannot bear to tell even a slight, any kind of misrepresentation of the truth. And you know what? I think that's admirable. Obviously, it's good to be an honest person. I try to be an honest person. I know you try to be an honest person. Honesty is a good value to have. But I also think that when it becomes a distraction, and when you're worrying about stuff as tiny as this, that's when it's taken too far. And it's nothing is trying to be concealed here. He's not trying to deceive anybody. I just don't see what the problem is. And so,
yeah, I think our official advice is chill out, dude.
Exactly.
Chill
yeah.
out. It's all good. It's cool.
I respect the commitment to honesty, but I think you're really, and this is me, a notorious overthinker, saying you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Just chill out. It's fine. So, you'll be all right.
All right. Here's an interesting one. Should I drop out of high school? This post will come off as unbearably pretentious, but there's no way to avoid it. I'm currently 15 years old in 10th grade. I go to a below average high school. My current dream is to become a full-time day trader. I'm fully aware of the high failure rate most of most amateur traders, but I don't think this says much about the endeavor itself. Day trading requires hundreds of hours of research in order to be done effectively long term. I would expect similarly high rates of failure in the medical profession or in law if everyone was allowed to enter, regardless of qualification. I feel that this is a realistic endeavor for me. I'm not looking to become incredibly rich, only to be able to support myself independently. There doesn't really exist a possible fallback for me. I would be completely unhappy and ineffective in any job which requires me to work with other people. I also don't think my school is providing me with much educational utility. I have a strong interest in mathematics and natural science. As of right now, I've been able to learn most of the calculus progression, linear algebra, plane geometry, mechanics, and set theory by myself, just using resources from home. My school doesn't have classes going beyond AP, honors English, and the last book they had us read was The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, a book with a Lexile measure of 600 and taught to 6th to 8th graders. I cannot imagine what the point is there is to including this. Okay, this is just a rant. So I don't think my problem can be solved by just skipping grades. In order to do that, I'd have to expend more time on the slop in order to prove myself just so I can get to 12th grade and read books at the 9th grade level. Is there any reason for me to finish high school? Yes. Well, you should finish high school because, you mentioned you don't have a fallback. If you need to get any kind of job, even like a basic retail job, they will expect you to have a GED. If your goal in life is to do day trading and make that a career, that's risky, but it sounds like your heart is set on that. But you can wait another 2 years and just finish high school and then worry about supporting yourself. I don't see what the rush is to like drop out now and focus on day trading. Like just finish high school first.
So and it's not a big deal. And so just to be clear, his ultimate ambition, or their ultimate ambition, whoever this is, this Reddit user, is to be a day trader, right?
Sounds that way.
Yeah. Okay. So, So I mean, this seems pretty cut and dry for me. I don't care what you're doing in the financial world. If you want to so much as sweep floors at your local Bank of America branch, you're gonna need a high school diploma. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
If you want to be taken seriously in the financial world, I don't care if you're working on the New York Stock Exchange floor or doing day trading at home in your pajamas. You're gonna need a high school diploma. It's just necessary. Because of course,
and that's at the bare minimum too.
Exactly.
You'd probably be expected to get a degree in finance and business or
exactly. To an outside observer, right? Day trading seems easy. You sit at home, you can just you can just sit in your pajamas all day on your computer and just watch numbers go up and down on the screen. But the fact of the matter is that that's not really that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's what you see in all the get rich quick YouTube videos. But that's not the truth of it. The fact of the matter is that if you want to make real money day trading, as this person sounds like they want to do, you have to be taken seriously by serious financial institutions who will give you the capital with which to trade. It's not just, I've got some savings. Let me just, buy a few shares of, Microsoft or whatever. No. I mean, that's fine if you want to set up a 401k and you want to see your money in 60 years.
Yeah.
But if you want to see money right now, then you have to be taken seriously by financial institutions. And again, you're not going to need a high school diploma for that. You're going to need at least some kind of advanced degree, probably a master's degree level. So,
it's possible that this user is talking about day trading in crypto, which the layman can do, and I guess there are ways for the layman to do just regular day trading in stocks as well. But to me, it sounds like this is not the issue. It sounds like the issue is your attitude towards school, and you feel like the school is not serving you well, or you're too good for the school you're going to.
And listen, high school is a drag. We get it. I mean, absolutely, it's an understandable impulse. But this really smacks to me of a 16-year-old kid who's been watching too many YouTube videos, too many of these get rich quick YouTube videos. These YouTube finance gurus, who they're all about well, you know what, you don't need all this traditional mishigas. Just jump into the alligator infested waters, and you'll be fine. But the fact of the matter
how I can
is
afford this Lamborghini in my garage?
Exactly.
Knowledge. Look at the bookshelves I have in my
exactly garage. And obviously that's a very attractive and enticing promise, but the fact of the matter is that just because some millionaire in his 40s, you're seeing a YouTube video of him explaining to you how he made a bunch of money, does not mean you, sitting in your bedroom at 16, can replicate that same thing right away. Chances are you're not going to be able to replicate it at all, no matter how much education you get.
Also, that guy did not make his money from day trading. He made his money from selling courses on how to make money.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking. I feel like we're just talking about Ty Lopez now. Basically, is who we're talking about. So I would say, again, listen, I get it. You're 16. High school's a drag, but I would say just watch fewer Ty Lopez videos and just buckle down, get through high school. I know it's a drag, but trust me.
If you feel like the level of your classes is not high enough, take some community college level courses. You don't have to stay in your high school specifically.
Exactly.
Or, focus on a different aspect, not to be mean, and I'm probably reading into this, but it's possible that given the pretentious tone of this post, you might not be doing the best socially, and that is an important thing to learn in high school. I would say that's like 50% of the importance of high school is
Definitely.
How to interact with other people.
Definitely.
So if you don't care about your classes and feel like, oh, I already have all A's, I don't need to worry about this, focus on that aspect.
Definitely, yeah. And to your point, I just want to echo what you just said. If the complaint here is, oh, well, high school's too easy, why am I bothering to even do all of this? Well, then do more. Then, no one is stopping you. Then get all the easy high school stuff out of the way. And then, take community college classes, get a job, get out into the world. I mean, do this stuff. I mean, this is stuff that you can do. So if your complaint is, oh, high school is too easy, it's a waste of time, well, then just breeze through it and do more.
Apply for a GED. Take the exam if you feel like you could get it now.
So I feel like this is a very cut and dry case. Yes, you should finish high school. And and again, if your feeling is that you don't have enough to do or you're not being challenged sufficiently, well, then take on more, be industrious. That's perfectly fine. And so, that's what I would say. I mean, absolutely. Use this opportunity to do what you have to do, get your high school diploma, get your GED, whatever it is. And then you can, feel free to move on with your life as you see fit. But absolutely. Just, stick with it. So. All right. So let's do one more. Let's do one more unsolicited advice column.
Yeah. I'm trying to, This one could be interesting. Oh, this is a long post. All right. I'm 20 years old and feel like I have ruined my life. For context, I was born with cystic fibrosis, a chronic lung condition which also affects a lot of other things. For me, mainly my digestive and energy systems. Since I was around 10 years old, I've struggled with severe social anxiety. I did not realize this is what it was until I was around 16. I would fake sick to avoid social situations such as training/game days for sport. I've always been a quiet, introverted kid, so my parents never suspected anything when I would fail to hold conversations with people. My anxiety over time just got worse as I let it take over my life. I had surgery related to my CF when I was about 15 or 16 and was unable to do much for about 2 months. I found myself playing video games a horrible amount. It was something I enjoyed and was actually good at for once. I put an absurd amount of time into games and still do to this day, as it is a way for me to escape my problems and distract my mind. Not a good thing, I know. My anxiety held me back from getting a job until I was pretty much offered one by a business, so I said yes. I was 17 years old and it was not a lot of work, so I took it. My anxiety would cause me to shake uncontrollably, heart beating uncontrollably, intense butterflies, and brain fog to the point I couldn't complete most of the simplest of tasks. These symptoms would occur anytime I had to speak to someone outside of my close family I live with. It would even occur with friends. I pretty much isolated myself to video games. I've always played at a high school level, but have never been able to do it professionally, as I truly believe my anxiety completely takes over me when the stakes are high. Obviously, I fell into a depressed state as I had no social life, no work life, and no motivation to do anything, as I'm not good at much. I finished high school during COVID, and so I was granted early entry to a uni course that required a fairly high ATAR, ATAR, I don't know. As I was granted early entry, it did not matter pretty much. I was not close to getting what I needed to be accepted into the course. If not for COVID, I completed the semester with good grades. Granted, most of my work was straight copied from the internet. After the first semester, I fell behind. I had zero motivation of enjoyment of the course, and eventually I gave up. Of course, I have lied to my parents for over a year about still doing the course. I've lied to my friends, my family, and mainly myself. I think I lied to others to avoid confrontations that would happen if I told the truth. My family would rip me apart if they knew I failed. Now I'm 20 years old, barely making any money, have severe social anxiety and depression, no purpose, no motivation, no goals. I finally worked up the courage after about 4 years of realizing I was dealing with depression / anxiety to finally see a therapist. I spent thousands on sessions, and doing nothing seemed to work to help relieve my symptoms. As I lie about everything, when the therapist asked if I was depressed, I said no, thinking if I solved my anxiety, I would be able to deal with the depression on my own. Being able to do things my anxiety helped me back from. I have zero reasoning as to why, after finally seeing a therapist, I could not tell them how I really felt. I've never spoke to anyone about my emotions or how I've felt, so I found it really hard. The only reason I actually started going was because I met a girl a few months prior. This is a lot of context. They left me, blah, blah, blah. This drove my depression into the lowest of lows. Saw a different therapist, no help. Just want to completely disappear and move to another country where there are no expectations of who I should be and what I should complete. No one would be judging me, but of course, running from your problems isn't the answer. This truly feels like the only thing I would do, except I have zero idea how I would continue treatment for CF.
Is that it?
Basically. Okay. Yeah. So.
Okay. So I have some information just before you start here. So
go for it.
This Reddit user is Australian, I would imagine, because I looked up ATAR while you were reading that. ATAR stands for Australian Tertiary Admission Rank, and it's basically the Australian equivalent of an SAT, it sounds like. So basically, yeah, it's like an admission exam to get into universities in Australia and New Zealand.
And they did also call it uni. Which,
exactly, yeah. So yeah. It's used as the primary criteria for determining selection rank for admission into undergraduate courses in Australian public universities. So yeah. So just some context there. Okay. So So let's just boil this down. It sounds like the problem, that's being discussed here is being 20 years old and feeling like your life is over because you've made some mistakes. Again, very relatable problem, but I think in some ways, at least, I mean, not quite to the same degree as this Reddit user is describing, but in some ways, I think you and I have both had similar experiences of being wayward at 20 and seeking to find ourselves and find a sense of purpose. And in that way, in that sense, I like to think we are, I mean, again, not to toot our own horns, but somewhat living proof that just because you're 20 years old and you feel lost and adrift and you have all these problems does not, in fact, mean that your life is over. In fact, quite the opposite. It means your life is just starting. I can assure you that outside of the most extreme cases, you haven't made any, no matter what mistakes you've made, you haven't made any mistakes at 20 that are going to ruin the rest of your life. You haven't yet dug a hole that you can't possibly dig out of over time, you know?
Yeah.
Again, I mean, obviously there are extreme outlier cases, but 99% of the time, any mistakes that you've made by 20 are mistakes that can be undone, and usually undone pretty quickly. And so, you know, I think this Reddit user described a lot of stuff there. We got a lot of information. But to answer the core question, no, your life is not over. You know, I know it feels like it now, again, because, you know, you and I have both been there, you know, when you're 20 years old and all the questions are swirling and you're having this existential crisis. But I can assure you, your life is not over. It's only just starting. And I did not hear any problem that was described there that cannot be solved, and solved, I think, potentially fairly quickly. You know, it's never too late to change one's direction in life, and 20 is certainly not too late to change one's direction in life. Again, in 20, you haven't even decided your direction in life yet. So, you know, you still have every opportunity to make the changes that you want to make and to become the person that you want to see. And no, it won't happen overnight. No, I'm sorry to say there are no overnight answers. Even the most extreme interventions take time. But I guarantee you, if you put in the work and if you believe, this is the most important thing. So if you listen to nothing else, listen to this. If you believe that things can get better, then they can get better. I can assure you of that. All you have to do, or at least the very first thing you have to do, is believe that things can get better. If you don't believe things can get better, then I can promise you nothing will. I can promise you that. If you don't believe nothing can change or improve, then it won't. But
I don't even think it's necessarily believing that things, well, that is a big part of it, but also, you know, if you don't want things to get better, you're fucked.
Sure.
You know, you have to want things to change.
Sure.
And I think there are some situations where even if you don't think things can get better, if you just want them to get better, you know, that's enough to kind of take a first step towards any kind of solution. And then eventually you'll be able to see, oh, things are not as bad as I thought.
Yeah. And I only hesitate to use that word want because I know that this person mentioned struggling with depression and anxiety in their story there. And that can definitely warp your view of what you want and what you believe is possible.
It's funny because that's the exact reason why I was hesitant about the word believe too, because it could have such an impact on your, you know, kind of existential outlook.
Sure.
You know, you have that kind of inner critic telling you all kinds of, you know, harmful things. You know, he said, oh, if I tell my family that I've been lying about, you know, going to uni, they're going to tear me to shreds. It's like, probably not, actually, but that's just something your inner critic keeps telling you, and you believe it to be so.
Because when you are struggling with depression and anxiety, you always leap to the what's the worst possible outcome. And that's a huge thing that ends up holding you back, is you always imagine the worst and you always see the worst happening, when the truth is, you know, the worst rarely comes to pass. You know, I won't say it never happens, but the true outcome of taking the actions that are necessary are almost never the worst outcome. In fact, they're almost always far better than what you imagine.
Yeah.
And so simply taking the first step of reaching out is, I think, the first step of validation and realizing that the worst isn't coming to pass. And in fact, there is far more support out there than you perhaps assume from, you know, sitting at, you know, alone, you know, thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, I will give two pieces of advice. One from a mixture of experience and, you know, context based on this post, and then the second is actually advice that I've given to you before and that we've talked about. But the first piece is get a new therapist, and get a psychiatrist. See if you can get some kind of medication. I think, to me, what it sounds like is you just need some kind of crack in these walls that you've put up. That's all you need to get started on, you know, improving yourself and getting better. If that's in the form of, needing medication, whether it's anti-anxiety or antidepressant, it can help. It might not, but, may as well try, because there's no harm in, just trying a medication. And two, you mentioned not really talking or like lying to your therapist and then trying a different therapist. Sometimes it takes a few different people. Like, you don't click with a therapist immediately.
And also, just a very quick thing, I
Yeah.
just want to interject to support the point you're making. I just looked it up. They do have single payer healthcare in Australia, so all the more reason to explore all of your healthcare options with
Yeah.
getting a new therapist and trying different medications. It's a lot more complicated here in the U.S., where we still have a private dominated system.
Yeah.
Which, obviously I hope for reform to that very soon. But in Australia, you have single payer already, so all the more reason to explore all of your options and see what works for you. So anyway, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, so, it's unfortunate that you've had bad experiences with your previous therapists, but I would just keep searching for one that works for you and one you feel comfortable talking to. The second piece of advice is more of a philosophical, I don't know whether to call it a philosophical tool or a philosophical outlook. But it's just a kind of pattern that I've noticed and I use to my benefit when I need it. And this is something I've talked to you about. But there's this kind of mantra that I've learned to live my life by, which is things never really turn out the way you imagine them. And this is kind of twofold. You can imagine it in a kind of pessimistic way, which, like, for example, we just had our Christmas episode. So imagine you're, imagining a certain amount of presents under the tree. You're imagining you're going to get a very specific box with a Wii in it. And you check under the tree, and none of the boxes are Wii shaped. However you imagine your experience, your physical experience is going to play out differently. Even if you do get that Wii, it's probably going to be, in a slightly different position under the tree than you imagined it, or in a different color wrapping paper. So it can be something as small as that, or perhaps, there was no Wii, and sure, that can be heartbreaking. But the opposite is also true, and this is where kind of utilizing this outlook in a beneficial way is kind of comes in handy. Because I don't think this way all the time, but I know if I'm dealing with a bad situation, I can just remember it's not going to turn out the way I imagine it in my head. And if the way that you're imagining it in your head is the worst case scenario, then no matter what, it's not going to be as bad as you think it will be. And, it can take some time to kind of train your brain to think that way. Some simple exercises that I've done are just like, lay in bed and then close your eyes and imagine yourself, getting up out of bed and, like, leaving the room and, walking to a different room in your house. And then do that and see that there is a physical difference between what you are physically seeing and what you pictured in your head. Because you're probably not imagining all of the exact angles that your head was at, or, the exact pace and cadence of your walk. And once you kind of train enough to realize, oh, the things I see in my head do not correspond with reality, that can help you kind of break through the inner voice that's saying, this is going to happen to you and it's going to be bad.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, I know that's not true. I know it might still be bad, but it's not going to be the way I imagine it. That would be kind of my other strong piece of advice.
Absolutely. Well, very well said, and I think that's the perfect advice to conclude our unsolicited advice column with. I have to say, I didn't know what to expect. I thought our advice would be rubbish, quite frankly. But
I think honestly, when we do this segment, we should also look for some sillier questions too.
Yeah, but I will say for our New Year's Eve segment here, I think that we actually managed to provide some hopefully thought-provoking and useful, even if I can say useful, advice. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's interesting to see. I think one of the best ways to see how much you've grown is to actually, give advice to someone else who's in a situation that you were once in.
absolutely,
Because
and I think
you
we had a couple
reflect
of
on the
those.
past and you're like, oh, I've grown a lot. I've changed a lot as a person.
Yeah, and
I
I
think
think
that's
we've
really
had a
cool.
couple of those here tonight. So
Yeah.
I think that was really wonderful. So all right, well, excellent. Well, you're welcome, all of Reddit. I'm sure all of Reddit was waiting with bated breath to hear what we had to say, and so that is our unsolicited advice column. Uh, and yeah, hopefully some of it was any good. Um, but with that, I think we might have an opportunity to move on to our next segment here, which I must admit is a returning segment. Of course, for our Christmas special, we did a Zillow Gone Wild, Zillow Gone Santa edition for our Christmas special. And I must admit, I just had so much fun with that last time that I wanted to bring it back as soon as possible. And so I'm using this as an excuse.
Bit. Like, it's
It
a good
is.
segment.
It is a very good segment.
All
and
of those houses are so terrible.
Yeah, and so I'm thrilled that you enjoy it as well. And so I thought let's use this opportunity to do a Zillow Gone Wild New Year's Eve edition. We want to find some of the houses that really put us
house
in.
is going to be the best to throw a New Year's party in? Which has the
Absolutely.
best party space, best atmosphere. Does it have a good TV to view the ball drop? Can you hang banners? Is there a place to put the booze and alcohol? Or is it a piece of shit? Which we'll find out.
Absolutely, yeah. So really what we're looking for is New Year's vibes, I guess, for lack of a better term. Where would we most want to, what do we most associate with the feeling of New Year's, and where would we most want to spend New Year's? What really puts us in that New Year's state of mind?
Yeah,
and
I'm immediately drawn to this island as a bad contender for, or possibly a good contender. I don't know, because if it's like a nice mansion, that could be fun, but also it screams I live alone, which is not good for a New Year's party.
Yeah, and so I think, we've got some interesting ones right off the bat. And so we'll get to the island, of course, but I want to start with this very first one, actually, because this looks like some kind of eco compound in the middle
of observatory of some kind.
Yeah, in the middle of a forest. So we're looking at Chappaqua, New York here. Now that's like a little bit north of the city. Let's put this in here, Chappaqua, New York. I think I vaguely know where that is.
I know it's in New York.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I only know it because the Clintons live in Chappaqua. So
you would know that, wouldn't you?
So yeah, it's not far off from the New York metropolitan area.
Terrible, but
yeah, definitely suburban.
Out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally in the middle of the woods. So.
Oh yes, well this is in the middle of the woods, clearly. So let's see what we have here. $2 million, 7 beds, 6 baths. Very rustic. I must say, a lot of wood being used.
Yeah,
everywhere.
I see a lot of wood and stone uneven steppage.
Yes.
Which, going into the place is fine, but if you're leaving drunk,
yes,
very dangerous.
Exactly.
That's a hazard.
Exactly. If you've been slurping some champagne all night, as I hope you have been for New Year's, then these stairs could be a very real hazard. I will say this is intriguing. It's inside the dome. You have like a nice little pool here. Although I will say
someone's getting thrown in that pool.
Yes, well, definitely true. But I do find myself wondering. I mean, I understand why they wanted it indoors because it's in, New York, so it's going to be cold. And so, if you want to have any hope for using your pool for half of the year, you want it to be indoors. But I mean, as far as the actual facility itself here, I don't feel like it's really adding much to the property. I mean, I don't know. Is that just me? I mean, obviously, it's nice to have a pool rather than not. But...
I don't know. I mean, I'm getting greenhouse vibes from this room, which is interesting to then have a pool in there. But
it feels a bit basic to me. You know, are you getting that feeling as well? It feels a little bit basic for
There's
$2
nothing
million.
about an indoor pool that screams basic to me, but that's just me, because I've seldom seen indoor pools.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So, you know, we've got some of the decor here. It's a little dated, honestly, but you probably don't mind if you live in the middle of the woods. So I suppose.
What I'm getting is like, it's a decent space to throw a party, but the vibe is not great because it's all rustic and a little barren.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look at
the pool is fun. You could do like a pool party, but there's also like these giant rocks that are part of the pool.
But you have to remember,
like,
New Year's Eve, that's at the end of December in New York. So, I mean, even with the indoor pool.
You know that's a heated pool, though. That has to be a heated pool.
Oh, I guess so.
Guarantee that's a heated pool.
All
I will say, though, this TV to watch the ball drop, pathetic.
Yeah, I also wanted to say, look at how sad this bedroom is. Do you really want to?
Depressing. Do
you really want to ring in the new year here? I mean, this just feels very sad to me. You know, you've got the exposed radiators. I mean, just like literally just
hanging
the bed
wires
platform
from the ceiling. Like,
yeah. And then, like, I don't even know what this is. This, like, little dresser thing with the tablet on top, and then the tiny television, the tiny 1998 Panasonic television. Okay, maybe not 1998, maybe, I don't know, 2007. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Your 35-inch 2007 Panasonic television. This just feels very dated and kind of just, you know, not very inviting to me. And then we got kind of a compilation here. So, yeah, I have to say, $2 million. It's in a nice area. Well, it's in the middle of the woods is where it is.
Yeah, like, it's going to be hard for guests to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it feels out of the way.
Parking is going to be a fucking nightmare because, you know, there's only one driveway.
That's actually a good point.
Then,
where are you parking here?
Yeah, I'm assuming there's some kind of driveway, and then it's just, you know, country road, which you can't really park on the side of. Maybe there's a hiking trail nearby where you can park, but...
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, again,
inviting.
Yeah, I just feel like for $2 million, I expect more. You know, I expect more. I really do. It feels, it's out of the way. It just, the decor feels dated and just, I don't know. I'm not super impressed with this. I would not think of this place to be a natural choice to host a New Year's Eve party. This does not feel like a place that's putting me in the mind of looking towards the future. Because, I mean, there's reminders of the past everywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's definitely not putting me in mind of looking ahead. So, on our New Year's Eve scale, I think this, I don't know, a 3, do you think?
Whoa, that low.
Yeah, wow. I'm not fond of it. I don't really like it.
I was feeling 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I thought 6 was still kind of harsh. But maybe we should, you know, meet around 4.
Yeah, I can live with that. Yeah, I can live with that.
Let's do 4.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I would say not the best for New Year's Eve. But now let's look at the island. We cannot not look at the island.
Yeah.
So this is Red Rock Island, listed for $25 million. Oh, it's in San Francisco Bay. Okay, so Red Rock Island in San Francisco Bay. Well, which I have to say, great location. That is a great location.
I was like, that's a really cool location. Look at that gorgeous view. And then the next picture is there's literally a bridge in the way.
So
that's still amazing, but it looks like there isn't a house here.
No, it looks like it truly
is literally
just
a rock.
Red Rock Island. Yeah, there's no structures on Red Rock. There's not even a dock to land your boat on Red Rock Island, let alone a house. So, yeah, I would say
a 1.
Yeah, I mean,
if we can even go as low as 0, like that's just you're camping at that point.
So
there's no way to watch the ball drop.
Here's the thing: the location is incredible. It's incredible to be in the San Francisco Bay Area and to be able to be on the mainland and point out there and say, "Hey, you see that island over there? I own that in San Francisco Bay." I mean, that's an awesome thing to be able to say. Like, you know.
But then the follow-up conversation was like, "Whoa, you live on an island?" And then you're like, "No."
No.
That's just disappointing.
Yeah, I just
own a rock in the sea.
Like, but imagine driving along that. Is that the Bay Bridge there? What bridge is that? Can you tell? Oh yeah, or is it? Hold on, there's another bridge that's also kind of on the northern shore area. Could be this bridge. What is this bridge? The
That's the
Richmond.
bridge. Yeah, Red Rock
Yeah,
Island is right
and
there.
here's Red Rock Island. Yeah, so this, imagine driving along the Richmond Bridge and being able to point out and say to your friends, "Hey, see that? See that rock out in the San Francisco Bay? I own that." And I feel like for any island, for any private island in San Francisco Bay, I feel like 25 million is probably a good price, honestly.
For
Because
a
there's
piece
nothing.
of real estate, I think that's great.
Yeah,
But we're looking
but
at these
you have to
properties for
build
the
something on.
potential of hosting a New Year's party.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
This is
No.
hot garbage for that.
Yeah.
Because
No.
the
There.
best time you're gonna have on the island is gonna be at sunset,
Yes.
watching the sun go over the sea. That's gonna be a few hours before the ball drops. So then you're just gonna
Exactly.
be sitting in the dark under a single tree
There
with
is
nothing to do,
there's no electricity,
no way to
there's no
get there, no way to get
plumbing,
back.
no shelter, and again, you don't even have a dock to dock your boat. So again, if you're there at mid New Year's Eve, you're not gonna be able to leave the island until morning because you can't safely get back on your boat and depart because you've got nowhere to dock
Like at
it.
that point, just have a party on a boat. Like just do a party
That's
cruise.
literally, yeah. So I would say it would be cool to own this island, but for New Year's Eve, it has
a one.
nothing.
It's
Yeah,
a one.
it's a one. I'm sorry to say it. Yeah, it's a one. It's a one. I'm sorry. I want to defend it, but I can't. There's no structures on it. So okay, well, I mentioned I watched all the Lord of the Rings movies the other day.
Yeah, we gotta check out this Hobbit hole.
Yeah, we've got a Hobbit hole here. So this is in Elverson, Pennsylvania. So let's pull that up. Elverson, Pennsylvania. Elverson, Pennsylvania is okay. So it's like between Philadelphia and Harrisburg. So yeah, kind of in a rural area. It is a Hobbit hole. We have to just acknowledge that.
Wait, go back a picture. Why is it that the driveway is not connected to the garage doors?
That's a very good question. Why does the driveway lead directly to the front door?
Like, am I stupid, or like should that be connected to the garage doors?
That's a very good thing to notice.
And it's also not connected to a road either.
No,
it just stops.
Yeah, no, there's this is already very confounding. Yeah, the driveway, which connects to nothing, leads not to the garage but directly to the front door. And the house itself is built into an earthen mound of sorts. So, yeah, that's puzzling.
Barren.
Yeah, it's
barren inside.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say it hasn't been remodeled recently.
Yeah, or ever.
Exactly. It's coming off as very 70s. What's even left here? Yeah, $450,000, 3 beds,
$450,000 for that piece of shit.
Yeah,
oh my god,
$450,000 for just 3 beds and 2 baths, 2,600 square feet in Elverson, Pennsylvania, to live in a hobbit hole with no road access.
A hobbit hole with no road access, and then also every other week you have to mow the roof.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, that's bad. That's a bad deal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is just straight up not a good value. I am not surprised they have not been able to sell this place. Yeah, I think they need to rethink the price, honestly.
Yeah. Depressing inside.
The
cool room is that room with the dome ceiling. It would be kind of cool to throw a party in there, but as is, it's.
Yeah, I cannot imagine inviting people over for New Year's Eve here.
Is that like popcorn ceiling? Oh
yeah, no, it's
rough. Look at the state of that carpet too. That's
God, yeah, no, I'm saying this is straight up a bad value. I don't know what they're thinking selling this place for that money.
They're thinking people will pay more for Lord of the Rings.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, even with the land, it's not worth it. So yeah, I mean, I could not imagine hosting any kind of party here. I mean, it at least is a house. So if we said the barren island is a 1, I guess this has to be a 2.
I guess, yeah. But, geez.
Yeah, but it's not good. I mean, yeah, this is not a good option.
Honestly, I think I would rather have a party on the Rock because at least you have some novelty there.
That's true, and the location is awesome.
Yeah.
As opposed to Elverson, Pennsylvania.
I think this place is also a 1. Just
yeah, okay.
how
You know
bad
what?
the house
Honestly,
is.
I won't defend it. It's a 1. This appears to be some kind of apartment building. On today's episode of You Never Know What's Going On Inside a Home, Part 45, Atlantic City Edition, Casa de Cielo is your chance to own an actual high-rise in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Has 6 floors of office space and a penthouse residence on top.
Interesting.
Okay, so of
this
course we all know
has
where
potential.
Atlantic City is.
This has potential, but it is Zillow gone wild. So whoa.
Okay. Also, we should just
Whoa.
acknowledge the price is $11 million to own this building. So, right off the bat,
right away,
love this. This is a great lobby right here.
Great place for a party. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Wow.
You can have a piano player
Honestly,
show tunes the entire time.
I'm getting oh my god. Wait, hold on. What? This is blowing my mind actually. So the 7th and 8th floors have been converted into the living space, into a, live-in apartment. Wow.
That's a lot of people. That you can serve a lot of people. This is a good party space.
Look at this.
Wow.
You know what? I am shocked to say this, but I'm actually loving the apartment building. This is incredible. Look at this. It's got like a little theater.
Oh, this is absolutely a 10 for sure. It has to be.
And then the penthouse pool. Oh my god.
This isn't just a New Year's party. This is like a bougie, upper class 1%er New Year's party.
I mean, I had no idea what to expect when we were just looking at the outside, but this has got so much like old Atlantic City charm to it. Like, did you ever watch Boardwalk Empire, the TV show?
I haven't personally, but
this is literally where Nucky Thompson would live in Boardwalk Empire. Like this is crazy. It's like a proper penthouse with all the stuff, and you get the whole building.
Go back to the bedroom. Is that a mirror above the bed?
It absolutely is. Yeah. Yeah. No, this is the love nest right here. But yeah, I have to. I'm blown away. This would be an awesome place, and it's in Atlantic City too.
So like after the party, you just go gambling.
Yeah, this is awesome.
If this isn't honestly, a 10, I don't know what is.
You know what? Yeah, I'll say it. It's a 10. I mean, honestly, it's $11 million to own this whole building. I feel like is a great deal. I think it's worth it, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, Jesus. 10 out of 10. That's amazing. That's actually amazing. So we want to skip over the ones we addressed in our Christmas special.
Yeah, let's go further down the page.
Do you want to see this camper? Do you want to see what this is about?
Yeah, we can do a camper. A little bit of a tiny home. Does that say $210,000?
$210,000, yeah.
For an RV.
A 1960 Spartan Carousel for sale in Fairview, North Carolina.
No shot in hell. Look, it's nice, but I'm not paying $210,000 for a mobile home.
No, definitely. I mean, that's a down payment on a real house. So no, definitely not. But still, it is a nice RV, I must say. So yeah, I mean, it is a nice RV. But no, I'm not going to spend what could be a down payment on a real house on an RV. That's not going to happen. Also, I have to say, this person makes a very good point. From the outside photo, it doesn't feel like all of this stuff that we see can fit inside what we see from the outside.
Yeah, it definitely does feel a lot bigger on the inside. It's a nice atmosphere. Not sure about the bathroom, but
I will say
would be fun for like a small get together of like 5 or 6 friends having a nice intimate New Year's party.
Yeah, I will say
I wouldn't pay that price tag though, personally.
No, yeah, I would say if the choice for New Year's, if the choice was between this and one of the tiny homes, from the tiny house craze, then I would go with this. This is a better entertaining space than a tiny house, but obviously that's a pretty low bar. So yeah, I mean it's very novel. I will say I'm impressed by how much they could actually fit inside this thing, but yeah, on the overall New Year's Eve scale, I don't know, maybe. For a small gathering, a 4, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right, so
is accurate.
Yeah, so that's kind of a novelty. Okay, this looks like a church. Is this a house or is this a church?
I think it's a converted church.
Wow. Here's a fun former 1889 church in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, completely rebuilt and restored. Okay, so let's look that up. White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Probably in the middle of nowhere. Actually not. It's nearby to Minneapolis. So not the worst location. So let's see. It says it's got state-of-the-art sound, lighting, and recording systems with a stage, authentic 120-year-old Munich-style stained glass windows, and an 18-foot Cuban mahogany wet bar. Okay, well, my interest is piqued. Let's see. Whoa. Wow.
Okay. This is very surprising.
Wow.
You could straight up have a band at your New Year's party. That is amazing.
If you're a big music person, this could be heaven for you, really.
Live music and a bar?
Yeah, the Cuban mahogany wet bar.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so
I had my doubts looking at the outside because I was like, okay, converted church, how good could that realistically be? But this is pretty nice for a party.
It is very nice. I think the main question you have to ask yourself is how are you going to be able to get past the knowledge that you are in fact living inside a converted church?
Yeah. How would you feel about sinning in God's house?
Exactly. Or just like really just any aspect of living your life. I feel like it's very nice. It's very nice. Gorgeous. I just feel like I would feel weird partying in a church, like having a proper party in a church.
Yeah. Also, the only obstruction between the lofted bedroom and the entire rest of the space is a single curtain.
That's true. Yeah, not much privacy.
There's not much privacy or security there.
Yeah.
I don't trust that.
Don't love
that. But
I will say, like, if you live alone or it's just you and a partner, then I could understand the appeal. It's like, you're up there and you're elevated. And it's like, I'm king of the castle and all this stuff. But yeah, like, I couldn't imagine raising kids here. Honestly, this is
a one bedroom. It looks like so.
I mean, exactly. Yeah. Well, it says 3 beds, 4 baths, but we don't see any of the other bedrooms.
Maybe there's some offshoots.
There's a swimming pool back here and like a little babbling brook, which is nice. So yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed with how they converted it. It's very well done, but it is still a church, so you just have to kind of find a way to get past that. But ultimately, it's a very novel space.
Caveat though. It is a church, which means that there's probably a good stash of communion wine somewhere.
Oh yeah, maybe
the space comes with free wine.
That's true. Okay, so I mean, yeah, overall, for all the most important things, I mean, you've got a big stage with all these instruments, and you've got the Cuban mahogany bar. You've got a lot of just a lot of open space. Ultimately, there's more to like here than not. So I would say like 7 out of 10. Would you say?
Really, I was gonna go 9. So I think settle out on 8.
8, yeah. It feels.
This is a good party space, I have to say.
Surprisingly
very
impressive.
Surprising. All right, I got enough time for about one more, so let's make
better make it a good one then.
Is that a boat house? I think we both instinctually had the same thought, which was party cruise.
Yeah, but then this one has like a moat. I mean, there's so many interesting. I mean, like it's like
it's like boat garage.
A sail up garage. So there are,
That's
and this
something I would
one's
build in Minecraft. Oh my god.
And this one's a paddle boat. So there are a lot of interesting ones. Oh man.
Let's keep going down. I'm curious.
And look at this one. That's crazy looking.
That one sticks out.
Wow. And then what is that? What is this? What is this? Okay.
Ugly.
And now the Barbenheimer house? Are you kidding me? We have a Barbenheimer house right here? Okay, I'm sorry. We have to know what that is at least.
Yeah.
I'm saving that. But yeah, so this looks crazy. I want to know what this is.
Let's check it out. Let's check it out. It looks like some kind of weird McMansion type of thing.
Yeah, so this is in Palmdale, California. So Palmdale is okay. So it's a ways north of LA. You know, that's probably a solid ways away. But yeah, it looks like a giant pair of giant bleachers. Whoa.
Whoa.
That is wild.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Spiral staircase, not good for drunk people.
No.
I will say. But
giant chandelier, that's pretty cool.
That is beautiful.
Very New Year's Eve.
Great. Comfortable space, kind of a conversation pit.
Nice sitting area, and we're kind of at elevation too, so you can see the whole desert valley, which is
that's actually a very nice view, I have to say.
Yeah. Fireplace, nice couches. Oh, that's got to be gorgeous at night.
Just
overlooking the desert.
Space.
Yeah.
Tons of parking.
Yeah, tons of.
I guess parking. No yard for whatever reason.
And then, but yeah, we have to go back to the giant atrium pool. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a selling point. This is only 1.5 for this. This is worth it. This is, it's always nice when we find a Zillow Gone Wild that's really worth it. This is really worth it for 1.5 million. Wow, I'm very impressed. It looks crazy from the outside.
Yeah.
But inside, it has everything you want, I feel like.
Except
other than maybe the spiral stairs.
Except a TV also.
Well, there's a TV right there in the living room.
Oh, there's one. Okay.
Yeah. And then it's right next to this giant deck where you can overlook the entire desert valley.
Yeah.
I feel like that's amazing. That's great. Yeah, this is 2.5 acres with a view of Lake Palmdale. This is worth it. I feel like this. I like this a lot. I like this a hell of a lot. This feels like, and it's got so much parking space. This feels like perhaps another 10 out of 10. I feel like maybe the location isn't the most convenient, but I mean, it's close enough to LA where I feel like, if you're hosting a big party, your friends will make the drive,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think this is really strong. I'm prepared to say 9 or 10 out of 10 for this.
So would this be your top pick for your 2023 New Year's party?
Yeah, we'll look at this. We'll look at the other one we gave a 10 out of 10 to, but this is right up there, I would say. This is right up there. So what do you think? What's your score?
I was going probably 8.
Okay.
8 or 9. I can agree to a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so we'll keep this in mind, and then we'll compare.
I'll agree to a 10 out of 10. I think it's between this and the Atlantic City apartment.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we'll make a final decision on that. But first, I just have to see the Barbenheimer house. I mean, we cannot close out 2023 without looking at the Barbenheimer house. This is 1.1 million in Hudson, Wisconsin. So let's pull up Hudson, Wisconsin. Hudson, Wisconsin is in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, basically in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, looks really cool. It's very pink. Yeah, wow.
Honestly,
this literally is the Barbenheimer house. Look at this.
For novelty's sake, I think having a party in this space would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Would I want to
would
live
say,
here? Absolutely not.
No.
But
But would you
having a
want to host
party
a party
here,
here?
absolutely.
I would say specifically for New Year's Eve 2023,
Yeah.
this is perfect.
This is
Any other
awesome.
year, the novelty will wear off very fast, but this year, it's literally perfect. So, yeah, I will say it doesn't seem the biggest. It seems like it's actually pretty, it's
tight,
not a ton of
space.
space on the inside, but I love all the furniture.
Good seating around.
Yeah, it's very cute,
Fun decor.
and again, it's you've got all the pink Barbie stuff, but you also have these like stark black chairs.
Black Gothic, yeah.
Yeah, which again is very Oppenheimer. So it's like this is the perfect Barbenheimer house. Be your own daddy, make your own sugar. That's hilarious. So it's very fun. Like I would again this year and this year alone, I would love to go to a New Year's Eve party here. I feel like just on the 2023 scale, this has got to be very strong. Like 8 out of 10. I would say very strong.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but all right, yes, we have to make a final decision between our beloved Palmdale house here, the Bleacher House, or the Atlantic City apartment building with the really cool penthouse. And gosh, this is going to be another tough one, but
honestly, I think for a New Year's party where you get to dress up in like full suits, like a nice suit and tie, carrying champagne. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and would fit that aesthetic well. I think if you're just throwing a house party, the other place would probably edge out, but specifically for New Year's, my vote would be for the apartments.
You make a very critical point there, because what is the number one thing we ultimately care about on New Year's? It's the fireworks. And so you have to ask yourself, what are the quality of the fireworks going to be in Palmdale, California versus Atlantic City? And I think that's the tiebreaker ultimately, because I love both of these houses, but I think that Atlantic City is going to have the far more impressive fireworks display.
Yeah, you go up to the rooftop.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're already
think of the photos you can get, building. Like posing in front of the staircase, the grand staircase.
Exactly.
I think they're a winner.
Exactly, and like you said, you've got that old Atlantic City charm. Like I could see myself wearing a tuxedo and coming here. You've got the piano player right here. He's also wearing a tux, of course. Everyone's wearing tuxes. You've got your champagne
tuxes
in
hand. 3 pieces at least.
Exactly, and I just feel like this is. I think that's the tiebreaker ultimately. I think it has to be Atlantic City. So there you have it. We have our New Year's Eve Zillow Gone Wild champion, and well deserved. This place is genuinely very impressive. It's not every day you get to buy an entire apartment building with a penthouse like this that's this nice and this just evocative of the city. So
yeah, and if you wanna support us on Patreon, we're trying to raise $10 million, $11 million to host this party here.
Absolutely.
You're all invited.
And so with that, of course, this being our New Year's Eve special, our last video of the year, we have to close this out just like we did our 2021 special with a huge thank you to our subscribers and our viewers out there. Again, this show is a labor of love. We do it because we love it, and we do it because we love making stuff for you guys. And, just thank you for sticking with us once again throughout this journey. You are the reason why we were so excited to come back and start making videos on this channel again, and you are the reason why we remain excited to continue to make stuff for you in 2024. It's going to be a huge year, and so I just want to say a huge thank you to our subscribers, our viewers, the people that care about this silly little thing that we do, and we do it for you, and we're going to keep doing it for you. So thank you.
Thank you, and Happy New Year's.
Absolutely. Happy New Year's. And most importantly, we will see you in 2024. That is a promise. And we cannot
wait. The new year, baby.
Absolutely. And we cannot wait to see you then. So, to all of you out there, have a very safe, happy, and healthy new year. We hope you enjoy your revelries, get some champagne, watch some fireworks, and enjoy the countdown to a new future for us all. And so, thank you, and see you in 2024. Goodbye, everybody.